Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with Volume 2 of every Best Picture ranked, or ranking every Best Picture. I don't even know how I'm going to call this thing. But we're dealing with the 2000s, this run, the year 2000 to 2009. Before I get into them, just quick statistics here. According to the domestic numbers, these films were released in between the dates of May 5th and December 27th. Definitely a wider variety of the word year, opposed to just, the best movie of the late fall like the 2010s were. And these films made as high as a dominant $377 million at the U.S. box office, as to a just pathetic, lowest is pathetic, $17 million. And we'll get to that when we get to that. Anyhow, let's get right into it. Number 10, Slumdog Millionaire from 2008, directed by Danny Boyle, starring Dev Patel, Frida Pinto, and Irfan Khan. This movie also won the Oscars for director, adapted screenplay, original song, original score, cinematography, film editing, and sound. Look, now, okay, so the whole setup of this movie is a young man in the Middle East, finds himself in the Middle Eastern version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And since he's doing, this peasant is basically doing better than any doctor or lawyer has ever done on this show, the local government are convinced that he's somehow cheating, and in between answers and in between tapings, they are torturing him to try to get information from him. And throughout these sequences, we also see the flashback of his life and his long-lost love. This movie is, in my opinion, the cinematic equivalent of a mentally depressive schizophrenic. If a movie was that person's mental health, that's what it would be. Because this movie had, you have children being tortured, children being sold into slavery, and the movie doesn't want to know if this is being played for laughs. It's just all over the place. To me, there's really nothing I can say good that I really genuinely liked about this movie. I also am completely unfamiliar with Bollywood kind of films. I'm assuming this is still better and closer than The Love Guru was, which came out the same year. But, this definitely doesn't get me in the mood to want to go check out any of the actual Bollywood movies or anything like this, because I thought Slumdog Millionaire was just a mess of a movie. And my wife will tell you it's one of the worst films she's ever seen. If to say anything good about it, I would just have to, I'll say that the guy who plays, I can't remember the actor's name, didn't write down, but the guy who plays the host, the Regis Philbin, he's good in it. But yeah, man, I really didn't like this movie at all. And then after all this tragedy and all this awfulness, there's this big song and dance number at the end that's just really just jarring. I'm sorry, but it is. And then there's our main character, who isn't particularly smart or charismatic or handsome. So yeah, this is a leading man. Well, I can't wait to spend 2 hours with this guy. But this was a nothing movie to me. And I think Frost Nixon should have won. Number 9, Chicago from 2002. Directed by Rob Marshall, starring Renee Zellweger, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Richard Gere, John C. Reilly, Queen Latifah, and Christine Baranski. This movie also won the awards for supporting actress, art direction, costume design, film editing, and sound mixing. This, of course, based on the play, story of Roxy Hart, who is a delusional housewife who murders a man who lies to her about the opportunities he can give her. Then she meets Billy Flynn, who is just a great character. And he kind of makes a show of the trial and gets sympathy on her behalf. What I like about this movie is some of the acting is good. Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones both have probably never been more attractive, especially Renee. Richard Gere delivers a career-defining performance, playing an absolutely great part. I can't imagine anyone else playing Billy Flynn, especially at this time. And John C. Reilly's pretty good, but I hated the kind of presentation. I've never seen any production of the play, of course, but I hated the presentation of all the songs kind of being inside of people's imaginations. And I didn't like a lot of the songs in general, most of the songs in general, and I really hated the whole payoff that basically it's, as long as you come out of this all rich and famous, it's still a happy ending. Yeah, it's really kind of vulgar motion picture, to be honest with you. And this is coming from a guy who loves The Wolf of Wall Street. This movie made me feel gross, you know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. And like I said, the only reason it's above Slumdog Millionaire because there's a great performance in there in Richard Gere. He's really, really phenomenal in it. Now, before I get to this as well, I should point out that with all 3 years of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I would have voted for The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings should have won Best Picture for all 3 years. But since I'm coming up with what I would have voted for, even if I would have voted for the movie that won, just for the sake of variety, and yeah, just for the sake of variety and argument, I suppose, I'll also say something else in addition to the 2002-2001 years. 2002, kind of a weak year, to be honest with you. I didn't like Chicago, and if I can't vote for Lord of the Rings, I guess I'm just going to have to go with Gangs of New York, because Pianist was okay, but it's just kind of blah, and, well, to me personally, The Hours was offensively horrible. That movie was so bad to me that I was offended by all the good actors involved and all the awards that accrued. That they talked me into watching this absolute trite. Anyhow, number 8, I'm gonna say but Gangs of New York. That's what I was left with. I would vote for Gangs of New York, even though it's a very stupid movie. Even the last time I tried to watch it, I couldn't get like an hour into it. It's a really, it's not a great movie, but, Daniel Day-Lewis is terrific. And, it's just more memorable than The Pianist. Number 8. Ocho. Gladiator from 2000, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Connie Nielsen, Oliver Reed, Djimon Hounsou, Derek Jacobi, and Richard Harris. This movie also won the Oscars for actor, costume design, sound, and visual effects. This is the story of Maximus Staurolicus, I believe. Basically, a Roman general who is framed for the murder of his king, and then after escaping execution is sold into slavery, where he becomes a gladiator, and eventually brings down the evil tyrant Emperor Commodus. Look, man, I think this is a very overrated movie. I really enjoy it. I enjoy it. I liked it when it came out. It's a great example of, you really deserve to win costume design, because it's an example of the shit I was talking about with last volume, but I really prefer in costumes that when he's a general, it looks like weathered by the environment, his cloak, his cape. Like, so much snow and rain has gone over it. It almost seems it seems washed out. And then when he's a gladiator, his clothing almost, even when they're just sitting down below in the wrestling scenes, his clothes look like they're like caked in blood and sand. Oh man, I love the costumes. Where on the total contrast, Commodus is in like spotless clothing the entire movie. Now, what I like about this movie is Russell Crowe. Great performance. And the fact that Russell Crowe is a guy who's pretty much famous for being an action movie hero, won an Oscar for playing an action movie hero. So that's great to me. Don't stand up there, baby. It's dangerous. Come here. I love the costumes, as I said. I love Hans Zimmer's score. If they ever had a great opportunity to give him the Oscar, that was it. And, but what I really dislike about this movie is pretty much every character other than Maximus, especially Commodus. I think Joaquin Phoenix is just a great example of that. The characters, there's nothing redeeming, nothing that's even human about him. He's just a bad guy in every conceivable way. He can't be smart. He can't be compassionate towards his family. He can't be anything. You know what I mean? Like, I even have said, since the first time I saw the movie, it's such a cooler ending if he wouldn't have gone for the cheap stabbing, but wanted to fight Maximus man-to-man and would have told his men, if he kills me, shoot him down with an arrow or whatever. That would have been a better ending to me than the cheat. It's just it was so predictable, I mean, the other thing's predictable too, but that's the movie's whole problem, is it's really predictable. I mean, the movie, that's another problem. The movie feels like it was written like the first draft of an eighth grader who had just taken like one class about Roman history. Oh, and the final screen performance of the late great Oliver Reed. He's terrific in it. Yeah, I wish he would have been nominated for it. That was a shame. Now, as far as what I would have voted for, this is a real lackluster year for Oscar nominations. I really have no love for any of these movies. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is just silly. I'm sorry. I've never seen fucking Chocolat. And it brings me to the Soderbergh movies. I mean, I guess Traffic? Just because it's gangster shit? Just care less about this year as far as the Oscars. Mind you, this was the same year as Almost Famous, Remember the Titans, Quills, Tigerland. So there's not like there were bad movies this year. Oh brother, where art thou? But no, we'll give it to Gladiator. Fucking Gladiator. Sure, why not? Number 7. No Country for Old Men from 2017, directed by the Coen brothers, starring Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, Tommy Lee Jones, Kelly MacDonald, Stephen Root, and Woody Harrelson. This movie also won the awards for director, supporting actor, and adapted screenplay. The whole story is Josh Brolin plays Llewellyn Moss, who comes across a shootout that's just happened. There's a bunch of dead men laying all over the place, and there's money. He runs off with the money, and it ends up being hunted down by a psychopath named Anton Chigurh, who is an assassin for hire, but also a man with kind of an inconsistent code, to be honest with you. Now, what I like about this movie is the acting. Sure, everyone is good in this movie. What I don't like about this movie is the villain. Anton is such a gimmicky villain. I'm sorry, man, but I've never been able to really get into this character as being believable in any way whatsoever. That's why I actually think the film theory that Tommy Lee Jones is the actual assassin and Chigurh is like his alter ego, or the name he goes under for to do contracts under. That's why we never see Llewellyn and Chigurh on screen together. That film theory kind of works in a lot of ways purely because Chigurh just doesn't fit. I mean, how could you not find this man? He is, first off, he's like 6 feet plus, got a Mo Howard haircut, he's carrying around a goddamn oxygen tank for a weapon. I mean, could he be any more conspicuous? I mean, it was just so silly. But yeah, the Coen brothers dialogue and filmmaking elevates the film, but at the same time, I think the just depressing nature of the movie overall just evens it right back out. Or just, by the end of the movie, wow, yeah, I saw some good movie stuff, but I'm really depressed now. That's not the kind of sensation I want watching a movie. Even when I'm watching a dark movie, I don't want to end the movie just, fucking feeling like I should hate myself. Just, oh God, isn't life just miserable and empty and awful and nothing matters, and why do we even exist? Thanks for watching my movie. It's like, that's just I didn't dig it. I just did not dig this flick. Even though I have given it 2 or 3 retries over the years. I mean, it's not unwatchable by any means, but I just think it was a very disappointing movie. Give me that. It's my whoopee. It's my remote. By Jorgensen. I will vote for There Will Be Blood. Yeah, just what an epic movie. Number 6, I'm going to say A Beautiful Mind from 2001, directed by Ron Howard, starring Russell Crowe, Jennifer Connelly, Ed Harris, Paul Bettany, Josh Lucas, and Christopher Plummer. Movie also won for director, supporting actress, and adapted screenplay. This is a true story of Professor John Nash, who just, he suffered from schizophrenia. And this is basically him about the story of him realizing so much of his life, so many of his relationships, his friendships, of his life goals were a figment of his disease. That was, I did not go into this, and this is kind of always harping the movie. First off, Russell Crowe is way too old to be believable as a college student at any age. by the year 2001, he was too old for the part. His Southern accent was bad, which is unfortunate because almost every other time he's done an American accent, it's been terrific. I mean, he's really good at accents, except for this one movie. Jennifer Connelly was great, but the real problem I've never really been able to get over is that I saw this movie not knowing the real story. So I'm like geared up, okay man, Russell Crowe gonna play a professor getting tied up in some spy, CIA espionage. It's like, yeah man, I'm down for some thriller stuff. And it's like, yeah, now let's enjoy this 2-hour movie about a sick man with a mental disorder. Yeah, man, just kick it. The movie's a kick in the balls. The movie's a kick right to the Canucks. And I've never really gotten over that sensation, man. And maybe if I rewatch, then again, this is a movie I've never rewatched. I saw it the one time when it first came out, and I never went back and saw it again because I was so bummed out by the whole thing. And granted, I was like 17, so maybe I would be more forgiving now. But yeah, that always was a hindrance. That being said, it's still number 6. It's still a very entertaining movie with a great performance from Jennifer Connelly. She absolutely should have won the Oscar for this movie. As I've already said, Lord of the Rings Fellowship should have won for Best Picture, but for the sake of argument, let's say In the Bedroom. Very good movie. Very intense thriller. Number 5, $1 Million Baby from 2004, directed by Clint Eastwood and starring Clint Eastwood, as well as Hilary Swank, Morgan Freeman, Anthony Mackie, Jay Baruchel, and Margot Martindale. Will you get down, psychopath? Movie also won the awards for director, actress, and supporting actor. This is the story of this is the story with every one of these. Clint Eastwood is a boxing trainer, and he trains his first ever female student. And it really is like he's so old. This is like the last opportunity he has to train a champion. So it's, he's stepping out of his comfort zone and taking a risk, and she's taking a risk being already kind of too old to start training. And well, look, man, just $1 Million Baby is just good. I mean, I kind of don't support the whole right to die philosophy. I think it's still murder. I mean, no, it's not. There's not an easy answer for anything like that. But like the most famous situation of this being, is I think the Terry Schiavo situation, which also came out very similar around the same time as this movie, which kind of I don't know, just kind of put this movie in a bad light for me as far as the third act goes. Now, that doesn't take away from anything else in this movie. Just great acting, beautiful photography, terrific performance from Clint Eastwood and Hilary Swank and Morgan Freeman. And $1 Million Baby is a very powerful movie. And even with the bummer, slightly political third act, no, it's a terrific motion picture. Number 4, Crash. Oh boy, yeah. From 2005, directed by Paul Haggis, starring Don Cheadle, Matt Dillon, Ryan Phillippe, Sandra Bullock, Brenda Fraser, Terrence Howard, Thandie Newton, Michael Pena, Sean Tobe, Lorenz Tate, Ludacris, Loretta Devine, William Fichtner, and Keith David. This movie also won the Oscars for original screenplay and film editing. Look, man, I know a lot of people shit on Crash for just being so melodramatic and silly. And it is. But yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was very good and powerful when it came out. I loved all the strong performances from so many a wide variety of actors. Some guys you haven't seen in years. Some guys who were like standard-bearing character actors at the time and even still now, like Cheadle. And just, I just thought did a really good job maintaining, just getting you, just pulling you into the film and getting you invested in these characters. I think the movie's biggest flaw is just kind of feels a little silly. The 24-hour, 36-hour, the one day gimmick is just feels a lot like a gimmick. But other than that, it has some of the most powerful scenes of the entire decade. The scene where Matt Dillon pulling the girl out of the car is just heart wrenching. I mean, it's like a situation where a man trying to redeem himself, but is he still worth the forgiveness kind of thing? Because it's just a powerful scene that provides layers and just shows the complication of life itself in such a very over the top, in no way subtle manner. And there's also the scene with Sean Tobe attempting to kill Michael Pena and not realizing that he had been sold blanks because the guy selling him a gun was a racist and was afraid he was going to go out and shoot somebody. And then what does he do? Proves the fucking racist right. And the fucking little thing about the sanctimonious white cop ends up being the dude the guy who's trigger happy and can't wait to shoot a black kid. It's all kinds of stuff. It's I just said over the top, uber melodramatic, kind of silly, but still it's very good. It's a very good movie, and I think Crash gets shit on a bit too much. Besides, come on, man, it's better than Brokeback Mountain. You know it is. I think Capote should have won. When I was putting this list together, I said, I probably would vote for Crash. And I started thinking, fucking Capote was good. Oh, you want your one shoe on? That's her thing lately. She just wants one shoe on. My kids are always so weird. I wonder where they get that from. Anyhow, brings me to number 3. 3 is going to be The Departed from 2006. Directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg, Vera Farmiga, Alec Baldwin, Anthony Anderson, Ray Winston, and Martin Sheen. This movie also won the awards for director, adapted screenplay, and film editing. This is the story of Crisscross Rats. The Boston PD send a rat into the Irish Mafia, and the Irish Mafia send a rat into the Boston PD. And that's the movie. It's a remake of I can't remember, it was an Asian film. I was Japanese, but I actually think it was like Taiwan or maybe even Indonesian. Damn, I don't know, but the movie's called Infernal Affairs. And yes, Infernal Affairs. But just so many great performances in this. What's always kind of been so shocking is that Mark Wahlberg steals the movie. He has all the best lines. He's the best character. Matt Damon is amazing in this. One of the best performances of his entire career, if not the best. I do think DiCaprio is overrated in this. I mean, I think it's a one-note performance, and since he's like the lead, it gets a bit much at sometimes. I think, in all honesty, you might think I'm a dick, but I think they could have cut Vera Farmiga's entire character, and it would have made the movie. It would have made the movie work better. But yeah, man, it's awesome. It's an awesome movie. With all that being said, it's just too much. And just I don't even. If you ain't seen it, I ain't gonna tell you about the last 20 minutes. See it. That I will not ruin for you. It's that phenomenal. That makes the movie. You know what I mean? Puts it over that level. And once again, like with Russell Crowe, just how cool is it that when Martin Scorsese finally won an Oscar for Best Director, it was for a gangster movie. Now, I probably would have voted for The Departed, but in all honesty, I think Letters from Iwo Jima was probably the biggest achievement for Best Picture. Probably should have won Best Picture. I mean, neither the director, the producer, or the writer spoke Japanese, but they have to make a movie in Japanese. I mean, it's not as a massive, daunting achievement as making an uber-violent movie about a religious deity in a dead language with money out of your own pocket that still went on to become the biggest hit of the year. But, you know, why would that qualify for Best Picture? I know. Do you see me doing this thing right here? Sit up here with me. Do the video with me. I'm not done yet. I got 2 more. Number 2, The Hurt Locker. From 2009, directed by Captain Bigelow, starring Jeremy Renner, Anthony Mackie, Guy Pearce, Ralph Fiennes, David Morse, and Evangeline Lilly. This movie also won the awards for director, original screenplay, film editing, sound, and sound editing. It's just about guys defusing bombs in Iraq, man. That's like all that's going on in this movie. There's no real overlapping story. There's no main villain. There's no... if there is a narrative, that it's Jeremy Renner running out the last few days of his tour, and the heartbreaking ending of him just not being comfortable back in the world anymore, not feeling safe with in his own home, and signs back up for another tour. I thought it was just profoundly sad ending, but it's a terrific movie. Anthony Mackie's great in it. Small role cameos from guys like Guy Pearce and Ralph Fiennes, and especially David Morse steals the fucking movie. And look, I still say Jeremy Renner became a movie star from this movie that made no money, but it did win Best Picture, but became a movie star because he was able to look like a badass in that big damn pillow suit. He was walking around in his anti-bomb suit, which we see in the first scene of the movie doesn't work. Guy Pearce is wearing it, and he gets blown up. But yeah, it's a good movie. Which brings me to my number 1. My obvious number 1 is The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. From 2003, directed by Peter Jackson. Gotta move my phone so I can see the whole cast list. Starring Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, Andy Serkis, Ian McKellen, Viggo Mortensen, Orlando Bloom. I'm such a wrestling fan, I put Orlando Jordan there. God, he's not even a good wrestler. John Rhys Davis, Liv Tyler, Kate Blanchett, Dominic Monaghan, Billy Boyd, Hugo Weaving, Miranda Otto, David Wenham, Carl Urban, John Noble, and Ian Holm. This movie also won the Oscars for director, adapted screenplay, original song, original score, art direction, costume design, film editing, sound, visual effects, and makeup. Whoa. Yeah, it's the conclusion of The Lord of the Rings, which is a story about Middle-earth, all these fantasy creatures, a team of 9 fantasy creatures made up of men, dwarves, elves, wizards, and hobbits, which is a little furry fuckers. They all gotta walk across the entire goddamn planet so they can drop a ring into a volcano and save the world. And it is somehow the greatest thing you will ever see in all of your life. I promise you. I love this movie. It's the only Best Picture I've ever seen at the theaters. It is one of the greatest experiences. No, it is the greatest experience I've ever had at the theaters. And it really, just go back and look at it now, makes me so bummed out. You know, this might be over. This may be a past era of filmmaking, of film going, that you won't have the opportunity to go sit in a room with 300 strangers and experience a social phenomenon together like that ever again. That's possible, and that really sucks. Quite frankly. And movies did to themselves by pricing themselves out of interest. To be frank, and you know, literally talking down to everyone who buys a movie ticket. But, you know, I could go on and on about how much I love this movie. I've talked about how much I love The Lord of the Rings before in previous videos, so I ain't going to drag this on too much longer. But I will point out that The Lord of the Rings is tied with the record for most Best Picture winners most Oscar winners, much less Best Picture of all time, tied with Titanic and Ben-Hur. Yeah, we'll get to those movies. But Lord of the Rings won 11 Oscars for 11 nominations, which in my opinion makes it the most dominant Best Picture winner of all time. Anyhow, I hope y'all like this long-ass video. 7 more of these to go. I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.